Michele Bachmann is in, and it turns out she's for real. A new Des Moines Register poll out this weekend has the Congresswoman in a virtual tie with frontrunner Mitt Romney and 12 points ahead of the nearest other Republican. Look at that poll. That is an amazing number. She's got to feel on top of the world with a number like that. Wow, almost tied with Romney. And with that win at her back, she's pushing hard on two issues that might make the difference: her connection to Iowa and her credentials as a social conservative.
This is where my Iowa roots were firmly planted. And it's these Iowa roots and my faith in God that guide me today.
She hit both themes right away. She's good at that. But she still has one big problem. Is she a real credible candidate, given some of the kooky things that she's done and said in the past? Well, Chris Wallace tried to ask her that on Fox News this weekend, and she didn't take kindly to the question.
Are you a flake?
Well, I think that would be insulting to say something like that, because I'm a serious person.
But you understand when I say that's what the rap on you is.
Well, what I would say is that I am 55 years old. I've been married 33 years. I'm not only a lawyer, I have a postdoctorate degree in federal tax law from William & Mary. I've worked in serious scholarship and in work in the United States Federal Tax Court. My husband and I have raised 5 kids. We've raised 23 foster children.
Overall, that was a pretty good answer, actually. Chris Wallace later apologized for asking her that question, so she deflected that question pretty well first time around, and she's got money, as we've told you in the past. She's got the numbers now, as you can see, but she still does have that history of saying things like these.
Obamacare, as we know, is the crown jewel of socialism.
There isn't even one study that can be produced that shows that carbon dioxide is a harmful gas. Not all cultures are equal. Not all values are equal.
I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America?
Now, can someone like that really win the presidency? Remember, this is also the same woman who hid in the bushes at a gay pride event to spy on the proceedings. That's why she gets the Flakey question, because that's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Plus, she makes terrible mistakes like this.
What I want them to know is, just like John Wayne was from Waterloo, Iowa, that's the kind of spirit that I have, too.
Now, the problem with that statement is that the actor John Wayne grew up in Winterset, Iowa, a 3-hour drive from Waterloo. Okay, no big deal, you say. But there really was a John Wayne that was from Waterloo. She got it mixed up. That was none other than John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown. That was a serial killer who killed 33 boys. Not something you really brag about. All right, let's talk about her chances now. Joining me is columnist for the Washington Post, Dana Milbank. Also with me, Michele Goldberg. She's a senior contributing writer for the Daily Beast and Newsweek. One of Michele's recent articles, by the way, is entitled Bachmann's Unrivaled Extremism. All right. Well, good to have you both here. Michele, let me start with you then. Unrivaled extremism, right? Talk to me. You saw the clips we showed. There's the crazy story of hiding in the bushes. What else you got?
Well, I think that the clips that you showed, although they might seem crazy to us, to a lot of the country, and certainly to the vast majority of her base, those are not only non-controversial, those statements are truisms. She really...
But really? You want to be in a room just filled with carbon dioxide and see how that turns out?
Oh, of course not. But the idea that there is nothing that there's nothing harmful at all about man-made climate change, that emissions have no kind of negative impact on the environment, you know, that to a great majority of conservatives, certainly to the kind of Tea Party types, that's not going to sound like a crazy gaffe. That sounds like a reaffirmation of their fundamental worldview. And more than any other candidate in the race, she is of that movement. She's a product of the religious fundamentalist right since the 1970s.
Right. I want to get back to that in a second. But Dana, look, wow, look at those poll numbers. I mean, you got to admit, that's amazing, right? So is she for real? Are we looking at, and by the way, look at those favorabilities. She's got the top favorability. This is a different part of the poll, 65%, and the least amount of unfavorable numbers, 12%. Those are gorgeous numbers if you're a politician, right?
It doesn't get a whole lot better than that, Cenk. I mean, she could have said Napoleon is from Waterloo, and I think people would have forgiven her for that particular gaffe. But it's even better. I mean, look, they asked first choice and second choice in that poll. She is the first or second choice of 40% of the would-be Iowa Republican caucus goers, compared to only 33% for Romney. So in many ways, she is out front there, and she's definitely setting herself up as the main Romney alternative, at least in the first caucuses in the nation, and she's burying people like your good friend Tim Pawlenty. So
thank you for noticing. I appreciate that. Now, Dana knows how amused I am by Tim Pawlenty's campaign. Oh, the poor guy came in like at 6%. What a disaster. And he says, oh, no, but how come he was doing worse at this time in 2008? Oh, please spare me. Please spare me. But, Michele, as we turn to that, you know, combining Dana's point and your point, what do we got here is look, because we're looking for, not we, but conservative voters are looking for the un-Romney to set up, you know, social conservatives, Tea Party, etc. Is she it? Could she really be it?
I think it really depends on the extent to which the Republican Party or the Republican base believes its own propaganda. There's a certain part of the Republican base that believes that Obama is fantastically unpopular. I saw a quote from somebody today who said a potted plant could beat Obama. Now, that's not true, but in as much as they believe that, they might be willing to take a chance on somebody who really and truly reflects their values.
I thought you were going to say they might take a chance on a potted plant. And they might be.
Right, and the other piece of this, too, is that, you know, they're under the impression that the Tea Party represents the vast majority of Americans. You know, as Glenn Beck likes to say sometimes, we surround you. Again, it's not true. But to the extent that they believe that, they might believe that Michele Bachmann is, you know, far more of a mainstream figure than she could conceivably be.
Now, Dana, Palin is going to Iowa with her new movie, The Undefeated, which is incredibly ironic because she's been defeated several times. But, you know, and it's also ironic because maybe Michele Bachmann's going to chase her out of the race. I don't see her bus tour anywhere. Is, you know, Bachmann basically, that showing, is that scaring off Palin at all, you think?
I don't think it's scaring her off, but it's definitely, you're getting the sense when Palin first announced that she's doing this screening, everybody interpreted that as a way to sort of bump Bachmann out of the media limelight. Clearly is not working. She's getting an immense amount of attention. And I think that, you know, the sort of the Palin act of doing the, you know, the Statue of Liberty tour, extending it to here, to South Carolina, I think that's wearing thin, and I think even all of us in the Palin-obsessed media are beginning to fade on that as we spend more attention with Bachmann and my favorite, Herman Cain.
Yeah, well, Herman Cain did come in third if you looked at that poll.
He did.
So don't count him out. All right. So, Michele, look, we come back to the issue of all these crazy things she said, right? Because that's going to keep popping up because she kept popping out of the bushes back in the day, right? So there was a story about the lesbians that she thought were holding her hostage in a bathroom, and then she freaked out and ran screaming out of the bathroom. Yeah. And this is not what rational human beings do. I mean, it's not. Okay, and let me give you one other quote here to give, and because I want the audience to know this too. Look at what she said about Melissa Etheridge, okay? She said, unfortunately, she's now suffering from breast cancer. This was back in 2004. So keep her in your prayers. That's good. She said, this may be an opportunity for her now to be open to some spiritual things now that she's suffering with that physical disease. She's a lesbian.
Well, and that was in the context of a speech in which she was talking about the homosexual agenda and how one of the ways it's trying to recruit our children is through entertainment. So she kind of brought her up in the context of all of these gays and lesbians who've kind of insinuated themselves into our culture. Yes, and then suggested that somehow this breast cancer might be a fortuitous time for her to give up homosexuality. You know, her husband is involved with the ex-gay movement. They both clearly believe homosexuality is a choice. And the entire time that she was in the Minnesota Senate, anti-gay politics was the absolute lodestar of her career. It was, you know, it was what she made her name on.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, I get it. She's anti-gay. I got it, right?
Well,
but running out of the bathroom is crazy. Like thinking you're being held hostage by aliens or lesbians is crazy.
It's not just that she's anti-gay. It's that she very much believes, you know, a lot of gay people talk, I mean, a lot of gay people, a lot of Republicans make talk about a sinister homosexual agenda. She really believes it. She really believes that there is one. That's why when two of her constituents, one of whom was a lesbian, tried to talk to her in a bathroom after a public meeting, she believed that they were, you know, some kind of dangerous figures who'd come to take her hostage.
Right. Oh, boy. Okay. Look, Michelle Goldberg's from the Daily Beast and Newsweek. Dana Milbank's from the Washington Post. Obviously, we're going to continue this story, and obviously it's interesting, a fascinating one. Thank you both.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
All right.